She trusted them more than anyone in the world, but what she found that day in her own bedroom would destroy her life forever. A husband, her mother, and a betrayal so shocking, it left an entire town speechless. Watch as the full story of deception, revenge, and survival unfolds. Sarah Mitchell believed her life was finally stable. She lived in a quiet American suburb where mornings felt predictable and safe. Her marriage to Ryan Mitchell appeared strong to everyone around them. Ryan worked a respected corporate job and was known as dependable, calm, and polite. Friends described them as a perfect couple who avoided drama and valued family above everything else. Sarah worked locally and spent her evenings maintaining their home. The house reflected order, trust, and routine. Family photos lined the walls, and weekends were often spent hosting relatives. Her mother, Patricia Collins, played a constant role in their lives. She lived nearby and visited several times a week, often staying overnight. Sarah saw this as a blessing, not a problem. Patricia helped with household chores and offered guidance whenever Sarah felt unsure. She praised Ryan openly and admired his dedication. Their closeness felt natural to Sarah, who believed strong family bonds created security. She never questioned why her mother felt so comfortable in her home or why Ryan welcomed the visits without hesitation. From the outside, everything looked balanced. Neighbors waved, co-workers praised Sarah's calm nature, and relatives admired the marriage. There were no loud arguments or public signs of conflict. Sarah felt grateful for the life she had built and believed she was surrounded by people who loved her deeply. What Sarah did not know was that this sense of safety was carefully constructed. Beneath the peaceful routines and familiar smiles, something was quietly growing. The foundation of her marriage was already cracking, even though no sound had reached the surface yet. The truth was waiting, hidden inside the walls she trusted most without warning signs. Over the next few months, Sarah began noticing changes she could not fully explain. Ryan was physically present but emotionally distant, often distracted and quiet. He stopped sharing details about his day and spent more time staring at his phone. Simple routines felt colder, and the warmth she once relied on slowly faded without a clear reason. Patricia's behavior also shifted in subtle ways. Her visits became more frequent, sometimes lasting several days. She arrived without notice and seemed unusually comfortable moving through the house. Sarah noticed her mother dressing more carefully, paying attention to her appearance even during casual evenings at home. The attention felt unnecessary but not alarming enough to confront. The atmosphere inside the house felt different. Conversations felt forced, and silence stretched longer than before. Sarah sensed tension but could not identify its source. When she asked if something was wrong, she was met with reassurance and calm reactions. Those answers made her question her own instincts. Sarah blamed stress, work pressure, and routine exhaustion. She told herself long marriages naturally change. She believed closeness between family members was healthy and reminded herself that trust meant not assuming the worst. Doubt felt like betrayal, so she pushed it aside. Small moments lingered in her thoughts. Shared glances that ended quickly. Sudden pauses when she entered a room. Late nights followed by early mornings. None of it formed clear proof, only discomfort that refused to disappear. Sarah chose stability over suspicion. She focused on keeping life normal and avoided difficult questions. She had no idea these warning signs were not random. They were signals of something unfolding behind her back, growing as she looked the other way. One afternoon, Sarah felt dizzy and unwell at work, something that rarely happened to her. She decided to leave early, expecting to rest at home before Ryan returned in the evening. The drive back felt longer than usual, filled with an uneasy feeling she could not explain. When she pulled into the driveway, she noticed Ryan's car already parked outside. The sight confused her. Ryan was supposed to be in the office for several more hours. As Sarah stepped inside the house, she was met with silence. No television, no music, no familiar movement. The air felt heavy, almost tense. She placed her bag down slowly and noticed a pair of shoes near the stairs that did not belong there at that time of day. Sarah's heart began to race. She tried to calm herself, assuming there was a simple explanation. She walked through the living room and kitchen, each step making the quiet feel louder. On the counter sat Patricia's handbag, carefully placed as if she planned to stay for a while. That detail made Sarah stop. She moved toward the staircase with growing unease. The sound of her footsteps felt amplified as she climbed. Halfway up, she noticed the bedroom door was closed. That alone was unusual. The door was almost never shut during the day. Sarah stood still for a moment, listening, but heard nothing. Her hand reached for the handle slowly. Every instinct warned her to turn away, but curiosity and fear pushed her forward. She took a deep breath, unaware that the next few seconds would completely destroy the life she believed she knew forever, changing her understanding of trust, family, and safety forever more suddenly. Sarah opened the bedroom door and felt her entire body freeze. The scene before her made no sense, yet it was impossible to deny. Ryan and Patricia were in bed together, close in a way that shattered every belief Sarah had about her life. Her mind struggled to process what her eyes were seeing, creating a moment that felt unreal and endless. Time seemed to slow as shock took over. Her heart pounded loudly, but her body would not move. The room looked ordinary, which made the moment even more disturbing. The bed sheets were familiar. The walls held photos she had chosen herself. Everything that once represented comfort now felt contaminated. A deep sense of betrayal settled in. This was not a mistake or a misunderstanding. It was an intentional crossing of boundaries that should never be crossed. The people she trusted most had violated her in the most personal way possible. The pain cut deeper than anger, replacing it with numb disbelief. Sarah felt disconnected from herself, as if watching someone else's life collapse. Her thoughts raced, but none formed clearly. Questions had no answers. Memories replayed differently, suddenly revealing meaning she never saw before. Every shared holiday, every family gathering, now felt tainted. She did not scream or react. Her silence carried the weight of complete devastation. Without saying a word, she stepped backward and closed the door. In that instant, her marriage ended, and her relationship with her mother was destroyed beyond repair. The life she trusted was gone forever, replaced by a truth she could never escape again. Nothing could prepare her for the long consequences this single moment would unleash across every future day. Sarah walked out of the house without stopping or looking back. Her legs moved on their own as if her mind had shut down completely. The front door closed behind her, sealing the moment she would never forget. Outside, the afternoon felt painfully normal, which made everything inside her feel worse. She wandered through nearby streets with no direction or plan. Cars passed, people talked, and life continued as if nothing had changed. Sarah felt invisible, carrying a secret too heavy to share. Her phone vibrated again and again in her pocket, but she refused to check it. She already knew who was calling. Shock slowly gave way to understanding. What she had seen could not be undone or explained away. This was not confusion or imagination. It was real, deliberate, and hidden for a long time. That realization hurt more than the discovery itself. As hours passed, exhaustion settled in. Her thoughts became clearer, sharper. She replayed recent months in her mind and noticed how easily she had ignored warning signs. Every strange moment now felt intentional. Trust dissolved into regret. Sarah understood that confronting them immediately would not change anything. Acting on impulse would only deepen her pain. She needed space, control, and time to think. For the first time since the discovery, she felt something close to determination. By nightfall, Sarah knew one thing with certainty. She could never return to that house as the same person. Whatever came next would require strength she never knew she had. The betrayal had broken her past, but it would not be allowed to destroy her future completely. That decision marked the true beginning of everything that followed for survival. In the days that followed, Sarah stayed alone and avoided familiar places. Once the initial shock faded, her mind shifted into a colder, sharper state. She returned to the house only when she knew it would be empty. Moving carefully, she began looking for answers she feared already existed. She reviewed bank statements, credit card records, and old emails stored on the family computer. Patterns appeared quickly. There were shared expenses she could not explain, hotel charges from dates she remembered clearly, and transfers that had no reasonable purpose. Each discovery felt like another layer of truth being peeled back. Sarah found photographs saved in hidden folders and receipts tied to secret trips. The timeline was devastating. The affair had started long before the wedding, long before she believed her life had begun. What she thought was coincidence now revealed itself as planning. Memories shifted meaning. Family holidays, late evenings, and sudden changes now fit together with disturbing clarity. Sarah realized she had unknowingly built her life around a lie designed to protect two people who betrayed her without hesitation. Instead of collapsing, she focused. She copied files, saved records, and documented everything with precision. Emotion gave way to purpose. This was no longer just about pain. It was about truth. By the end of the week, Sarah understood the full depth of the deception. The marriage was never real, and the trust she offered had been exploited. What hurt most was not just the affair, but how easily she had been used. Still, she refused to let their secret control the ending of her story. She would decide what happened next. Her silence became strategy, and strategy became survival. Sarah changed in ways few people noticed. Outwardly, she continued her routine, went to work, and responded politely to friends and family. Inside, she was no longer the same person. Pain had transformed into focus, and emotion was replaced by control. She understood that reacting too quickly would only benefit the people who had betrayed her. She organized everything she had collected. Documents were labeled, dates were arranged, and copies were stored safely. Each detail mattered. She avoided contact and kept her distance, allowing others to believe she was simply recovering from stress. That misunderstanding worked in her favor. Sarah spent long nights thinking, not about revenge, but about outcomes. She wanted consequences, not chaos. She knew the truth alone was powerful, but timing would decide its impact. Waiting felt unnatural, yet necessary. Friends sensed her withdrawal and offered support. She accepted it quietly, revealing nothing. Trust had become fragile, and silence felt safer than explanation. She learned to observe without reacting, to listen without responding. This stage of her life felt strangely calm. The storm had already passed through her heart, leaving clarity behind. She no longer questioned what she saw or doubted her instincts. The past could not be fixed, but the future could be shaped carefully. By choosing patience, Sarah reclaimed control that had been taken from her. The betrayal no longer dictated her actions. Instead, it fueled her determination to expose the truth when it would matter most. She was not hiding anymore. She was preparing, and every quiet day brought her closer to the moment everything would change forever. That certainty gave her strength, direction, and a sense of power she had never felt before. When Sarah finally acted, it was precise and calculated. She sent copies of the evidence she had collected to family members, close friends, and community leaders, ensuring the truth could not be ignored. The moment her revelations reached others, the impact was immediate. Messages and calls poured in as people struggled to process what had been hidden for so long. The reaction was swift. Ryan's professional life collapsed first. His colleagues and superiors were shocked, and his position at work became untenable almost overnight. Patricia's reputation among relatives and friends crumbled as well. The hidden affair became public knowledge, and the two people who had once seemed untouchable were now facing judgment from everyone around them. The household that had once felt normal was exposed for what it truly was. Neighbors whispered, and friends confronted one another with disbelief. What had been carefully hidden could no longer survive in the light. The scandal spread quickly through social circles, leaving Ryan and Patricia isolated and humiliated. Sarah watched quietly as the consequences unfolded. She felt no satisfaction in public humiliation alone. What mattered was that the truth was acknowledged and that the betrayal could no longer be ignored. People now understood the full extent of the deception, the lies, and the calculated betrayal. This exposure marked a turning point. The private pain Sarah had endured was now reflected in public reality. The world around her had shifted, and she had done it without confrontation, without anger displayed in public, and without compromising her own control. The fallout was total, irreversible, and a reminder that secrets, no matter how carefully hidden, will eventually emerge. Sarah had reclaimed her power and set the stage for the next chapter of justice to unfold. Sarah's carefully gathered evidence became the foundation for legal action. She filed for divorce immediately, determined to protect what remained of her life and secure justice for the betrayal she had endured. The court proceedings revealed shocking details that left everyone around her stunned. Bank records, hidden messages, and documented expenses proved the long-term affair and financial manipulation orchestrated by Ryan and Patricia. Authorities became involved after Sarah reported discrepancies in shared accounts. Investigators uncovered secret transactions and transfers meant to hide the truth from her. The financial manipulation was extensive, showing how calculated the betrayal had been. The law now stood on her side, turning the power she had quietly amassed into tangible consequences. Court sessions were tense and public attention grew. Neighbors and relatives who had always admired the Mitchell family were shocked by the revelations. Ryan faced legal repercussions, including penalties and freezing of personal assets. Patricia was held accountable for enabling and participating in schemes that had harmed her daughter emotionally and financially. The trial exposed the deliberate nature of their actions, leaving no room for excuse or denial. Sarah attended the hearings quietly, never seeking drama or confrontation. Her composed presence contrasted sharply with the panic and shame displayed by Ryan and Patricia. Every piece of evidence she had gathered worked against them, and she allowed the legal process to speak for itself. By the end of the proceedings, justice had been served in multiple ways. Divorce was finalized, financial control returned to Sarah, and the truth had publicly dismantled the lives of those who betrayed her. The courtroom closure marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, one where Sarah no longer needed to fear or endure the consequences of deception. She had reclaimed control, and the law had confirmed her power. Months passed, and Sarah Mitchell began rebuilding her life from the ruins left by betrayal. She relocated to a new city, choosing a place far from the memories of her past. The move was more than physical, it was symbolic. Every step, every small choice, was a deliberate act of reclaiming her independence. The first weeks were difficult. Simple routines felt strange without familiar faces or surroundings. Nights were quiet, and loneliness often crept in. Yet, Sarah welcomed the silence. It allowed her to think, to plan, and to understand that her life no longer depended on anyone who had deceived her. Each day, she made small achievements, decorating her apartment, establishing a new work routine, reconnecting with supportive friends who had remained loyal throughout the ordeal. As time passed, Sarah's confidence grew. She pursued hobbies she had abandoned and started new projects at work, earning respect from colleagues in her new city. She built a schedule free from guilt and fear, a life defined by her own choices. The shadow of Ryan and Patricia faded gradually, replaced by a sense of empowerment. Sarah also reflected on the lessons she had learned. Trust must be earned, not assumed. Silence can be strategy, and patience can be strength. Her past no longer dictated her present. It served as a guide for the future. Eventually, she began to feel lighter, free from the weight of the betrayal that had once consumed her. The world she had once thought shattered was now hers to shape. What shocked everyone was not just the scandal that had destroyed Ryan and Patricia's lives, but Sarah's resilience. She had survived, adapted, and emerged stronger, proving that the end of one chapter could be the beginning of a life defined entirely by her own strength and choices.